What's up guys, and welcome back to a new video on my money making YouTube channel, guys. And in today's video I will be considering my thesis again. In last video I shared with you that I've been waiting for over a month for this pattern to play out, right? Since somewhere here in July, August, beginning, I've waited for this pattern to finally, play out. We tested it again, dropped, okay. And now Solana is rising again, right? Broke out this trend line, this resistance trend line, and is on the way up now, okay? And we're about to see the $221 level, I guess, right? And the thing is, I also said yesterday that, we can see the USDT USDC dominance hit 1 time support, 2, 3 times, 4 times, okay? And the 5th time right now, okay, it broke out of this support trend line, right? And it perfectly retested the trend line. Okay, that's a very bullish confirmation for crypto because the USDC, USDC dominance are the stable coins, right? And if they drop, the money of the stable coins flows into the cryptocurrencies, right? Into the market. And here we saw it dropping, retesting it perfectly. Unfortunately I was awake, but I was on a run, like going for a run, so I didn't pay attention to the charts. Would have been awesome to take here some longs, right? Here you want a long at the resistance trend line, and now we're dropping. Okay, that's the thing, because we now have the confirmation that this chart broke out of the support trend line, okay? And we really don't want to short actually now, because now it's a very bullish confirmation. The only thing I have in my mind is that you can see it on the RSI immediately, right? The relative strength index is that here's the low, right? Retesting again, lower low, but on the RSI the charts get stronger, okay? It's a low, 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 and a higher low here, low, higher low, and this is bullish here, and this drops, this gets bullish, gets stronger. So this is one point I would like to point out first, okay? Because yeah, it broke out and it's confirmed, right, that this support line now turned into a resistance for now. But considering that it also could be a fake out, okay guys, it also could be a fake out, right? But I'll come to that in a bit, because on the, let's go to the 3-hour time frame, we can clearly see, okay, that this chart, let's go on the daily actually, that this chart, the Solana chart here, right, gets weaker and weaker all the time. It goes higher. We saw a high here, okay, the same high, slightly higher high, but it was way lower on the RSI, right? Then boom, another higher high, another higher high, right? But it's got still lower, these higher highs on this relative strength index, okay? Now we're approaching this level, but it's still not higher than any of these, right? And it's so bearish actually. The volume is decreasing still, okay? There's a little buy volume, okay, but it's still lower. It's still lower than we saw here. It was rising, but from this point, the last high, it's decreasing the volume, okay? Which is another very good and bearish indicator for Solana. And also, what I want to show you this, no, I will talk about this in a bit. Liquidation heat map, guys. Okay, let's go to Solana and let's see. No, where is it? Down here. Go to Binance, for example, okay? And we can see all these short people, but this is actually small volume. Let's go to Solana. Okay. Let me check real quick. Why is it not showing up? What did I? It's okay. We're just okay. You can see it, right? Here these people got liquidated, okay, at $218. All these short people, right? The people who bet on falling prices on Solana here, right? Solana hit 217. These people went short, okay, dumped a little bit, took these long traders actually, liquidated them, and now boom, it's pumped, and these short traders got liquidated, right? All of them. It's a couple of millions sitting around there. And also at this 221 level, guys, there's another, you know, another, how do you say, another area for liquidation prices. Okay, so basically, this is a very good level. Once all these people get liquidated, the people who are betting on falling prices at 221.5, to $222 level approximately. There's some more on at 223, 24, but this is a different story. For example, right? I told you, look at this, it's perfect, guys. It's really perfectly. It's absolutely perfect, and you can see it. Okay, boom pump going sideways. Okay, we might open a small short here already, right? Small short on not a higher leverage, but once this gets to 221.5 to 222, this is exactly the resistance level we're looking for, and that's a time where I'll be going short, not too big, because we saw the USDT USDC dominance broke out the USDT dominance itself also, so we don't want to be too bearish now, because actually that's a bullish confirmation, but it might be a fake out, and it might pump here to $222. We might go short at 221, 222, and boom, we might see just even a drop to 220 to 205. Okay, 205 is a 7% drop. Okay, on a 10x leverage, it's a 70% drop. On a 100x leverage, it's a 700% drop, or actually, an increase in position. So I'll be waiting for this level to play out. Okay, I don't want to size in here, right? Because it has liquidity here. It would not make any sense for market makers to just let that go down now and fall, right? I want to wait, and I will wait for this level. 221.5 is where I will start opening short, with a tight stop loss. That's the nice thing, because this is a huge resistance level. We saw it here. Resistance, boom. This is another, right? Boom. Then another resistance here. And also another here and another here. You can see it, right? It's perfect, guys. There's a lot of resistance going on, but also the more times we approach a resistance level, the chart approaches a resistance level, the more likely it is to break through, right? If you hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think it's already now 6th or 7th time, right? Okay, starting here, 1, 2, 3. As it's could consider it. 4, 4, 5, 6. Now it's the 7th time, okay? And it always got rejected at these levels, okay? And there's a lot of liquidity, which makes sense to pump here to get all these people liquidated here, and then boom, we go short, and then we might dump, okay? And if not, we go in with a small size. That's okay. We have our spot bags. We have everything set up for the huge pump upwards, right? That's a good thing. You have spot bags, and you trade with a small amount of your portfolio on the short side, or of course on the long side as well, right? To outperform your portfolio. But if you cannot do it, just stay spot bags, guys. Just keep your spot bags, and in the long term you will win anyways. Okay, this is just to make some extra money on the downside or on the upside when you see something a lot undervalued or highly undervalued, right? So I'll be waiting, as I said, for this level. Okay, small short with a high leverage actually, because at 222, for example, until 226, okay, this is 1.8%, right? So going in with a 30x leverage, or how much would that be? It would be 60, maybe 50%, right? 50 point, yeah, I think it's 49. Somewhere around 50%, right? on a 30x average. Okay, so it's actually 54, I guess. Yeah. So you lose 50% if you go with the small size. For example, you have your spot bags, right, which are 90% or 95% of your whole portfolio. Okay, then you have 5% into your trading account, and of these 5%, let's say it's 10k. Okay, of these 10k, you now take 1k, right? For this short, you take 1k, so you might lose $500, okay, of your 10k portfolio. But on the other side, you can make a lot more, right? $500 on 700% means you make like 4k. Okay, if you have going in with a 100x leverage. If you go in with a 30x leverage, means you've made 210%, which means a 3x. So you made 1.5k on the downside, right? The small downside. But in the bigger picture, okay, if we really see something happening, guys, something happening, and that's my theory, I'll come to in a second, okay? Because everybody thinks rate cuts will happen. We have a bullish September now. We didn't drop, right? And that could happen, guys. I'm not saying it doesn't. But if it happens, I want to be part of the people that shorted it, okay? I want to be the one that, took this small chance when everybody goes on the right way. I want to be on the left way with a little bit of my money, right? Because in case it drops, it will drop hugely. And that's the thing, right? We see this 2 times support here at this trend line, okay? So it will be $190 level if we hit this support again, and then we might bounce back up, okay? So $190 from this area would be 15%, guys. On a 30x leverage, it's already 450%. Okay, that's 5.5x, guys. On $500, as I told you, more than 2.5k you make on this trade down here. Okay, just to cover up a little bit of your portfolio, for example, right? And if it drops below that, okay, confirmation at $180 level, guys, $175 to $180 level here, then it's very likely to go very low, right, to $150 to $120. In my opinion, this is absolutely possible. I would love to see that, because going short at 222, nailing it, okay, seeing it dropping to 150, it's 32% drop. On a 30x leverage, guys, that's a 900%. That's a 10x. You do, right? $500 in, 5k, 5k in, 50k on the downside, right? Which you then could put again into your spot bags, right? Made 50k, or let's say smaller, 5k. You made 5k. Now you have 15k on your trading account. You take this 5k and put them into your spot bags again, right? So you still have 10k left on your trading portfolio, and you can wait for new good setups, okay? And until the 120 level, it will be 46% decrease. And guys, the thing why I like it so much is because actually the rate cuts, okay, it's 8 days until the rate cuts, but the confirmation for the rate cuts are on Thursday, I believe. Today is Tuesday, the 9th, okay? On the 11th, I believe we have the confirmation if rate cuts will happen or not, okay? And the chances are 88.2% right now that we see a 0.25 base point decrease, right? And the chances of a 0.5 plus base point decrease are 12%. So basically everyone, or a lot of people, the majority, definitely a majority of people think that we might have rate cuts, okay? And I also, I really don't have an opinion on that, I mean, it could happen, but I don't really look at rate cuts or a lot macroeconomics micro. I maybe should do that. I maybe will do that in the future, but right now I'm just focusing on the charts, okay, what I see, because looking at the economy, in my opinion, it more confuses you when you want to trade, right? You can see, okay, but we might have rate cuts. Most of the people are for rate cuts, okay, so I will go long, and it might work out, right? But if it doesn't, a lot of people get fucked on the long side, right? Because they you know, they bet on long prices, on rising prices, but actually, what if this doesn't happen, guys? This, you know, what if everybody's betting right now on the falling rate cut, you know, a decrease in the rates, but what if that doesn't happen? Okay. And I like this theory, you know, I like to swim against the storm, right? Against the, you know, everybody goes on the right, I go on the left with a small amount of my money, because once I am right on the left, it pays out hugely, right? A 10x would be nice. Okay, so I just consider that theory, right? Maybe everybody thinks we pump, maybe everybody thinks September is not bullish, and it may be, you know, it's very likely to be, but there's still a chance that it is not. And I want to be with a little bit of my money on this chance, okay? So I'll be going short here, as I said, 221.5, 222 level with a stop loss here. And, you know, it might pump all, you know, it might fake out also to the 230 level, because you can see it. Did I do it? Let's see. No, I didn't, but, you know, it could break out a little bit higher than this resistance level here, right? The 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level, okay? From the high in January to the low in April. This is right now the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level. And based on my theory that this might be an ABC correction, right? That we saw already the 1, the 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, the wave up, we saw it. Now it's an ABC correction. It's not another wave, you know, it could be. But for me, it looks a lot. Guys, this is a huge bear flag. I mean, looking at it on the daily chart, guys, you can see that. Boom, dump. Now that's a massive bear flag, you know. Massive bear flag. And I really want to short that. I really want to short that, where everybody thinks we might pump, where everybody thinks September might be so good month because we didn't dump as usual, but it might be delayed. Because history doesn't repeat itself. It rhymes, okay? And based on that, guys, this huge bear flag, you know, the rising wedge, the lower volume, the RSI getting weaker, okay? Everybody expecting now the September to be a good month. And don't get me wrong, we might, you know, it could also happen that we pump here, we pump to 250, right? The next Fibonacci retracement level could happen, okay? Could absolutely happen. To 250. And then guess what? I'll go short again. Because at some point it gets weaker and weaker, right? And it will never get to this level again. So it gets weaker, volume decreases. If the volume increases, okay, that will be fine. But you can see it here, guys. It's absolutely, you know, boom, volume decreases while the chart is moving up. And that's where I will short here. I'll short, you know, on the way up once in a while if I see good setup, you know, because also on the smaller time frame, 10-minute time frame, guys, this is huge divergence, okay? We can see it here at 217 when we first liquidated these people, the short guys, then a dump, right? We can see it here. It was, the RSI was very strong, okay? It was overbought at this point, right? The chart. You know, it pumped more, but, you know, people sold and sold and sold more. Then it dumped, okay, dump, and now it pumped again, but it's not that overbought, you know? People are not buying that much and that strong as they did on this pump, okay? So it gets weaker, guys, and now we can see it. We're going sideways, but the RSI is going weaker. And what happened last time, you know? It got weaker, you know, it pumped a little bit, it got weaker, and boom, it dumped, right? And it's, you know, you say it's just a 217 to 210, but that's 2.8% on a 30x leverage. That's a, how much is that again, guys? Let's say roughly 84%. 84%, right? And 80% on whatever amount you do, right? It's a good trade, good small trade, right? But it could also go lower. That's the nice thing. You want to trade, you don't want to take these trades that have a good setup in the small time frame, right? Because in the small, you know, short period of time, it might drop maybe to 215, okay? So for 215, that's 1.5%. You know, it might drop here again sometimes, something like a double bottom, 212. So that's another 3.2%, okay? So on the short time frame, you can pull this perfectly out you short, right, it dumps, you can just put your stop loss break even and you will never lose anything, and you might take some profits here, so you'll have some profits, right? But it could drop more, right? Far more than that. Okay, and that's the thing I like about this chart, you know, Solana. Everybody's getting bullish. Meme coins start to pump again, guys. Brett, for example, okay, that's huge actually. Doge pumped as well, and Brett pumped, you know, from 420 million market cap to 510-ish. It's 20% increase, you know. Pepe the same, okay. Pepe the same. So meme coins started to pump, okay? And now, you know, guys, that's my theory, because I told you many times that the thing is right now, nobody's here, okay? We can look at the Twitter followers, right? Twitter followers, the new Twitter followers are very, very low. It's 3,500. So we need some good news. We need some bullish momentum. It just, you know, meme coins doubling, Solana going to 250 maybe, you know, ETH going to 4.6, 4.8, and after that we might see the actual September dump, you know, which might be a little bit later, right? It could be mid to end of September. Why not? You know, because we cannot consider the time as the most reliable indicator for our trades, okay? Because it rhymes, it doesn't repeat exactly. So we of course we consider it, right? We're not in time right now, you know, it's a little bit off, but you know, it's still the chance that this thing might drop. And as I said, I'm not the beer. I'm just, you know, I just like it to, you know, to not think what everybody thinks. I hate it. I hate to think what everybody thinks. That's why I'm always, you know, I always like to think the opposite of the majority. So when everybody thinks we might pump, and we might pump, you know, in the short term, we might see a pump, and we might also see a pump in the social metric score, right? People get bullish. Oh, meme coins double in the last week or in the last 3 days. Solana pumped 20% in the last 4 days. Ethereum pumped as well. It's about to hit new all-time highs, right? At 4,350. No, you know, once Ethereum is at 4,600, 4,800 level, right? In this area, everybody thinks, okay, new all-time highs are confirmed now. We might pump through it, and we might do, but there's also always a good chance that it doesn't, because when everybody thinks it might pump, it's very likely to not pump, okay? So we need to consider how many people are back, how many new people in this space are back, because guys, it's absolutely insane, the social metric score. That's, you know, that's the only indicator why I'm not too bearish. If this thing would be up more, right, I will be much more bearish than I'm now, because this thing is at 0%. 0% means that 0% new retail people are in this space, right? Nobody, basically nobody that wants to buy, that has any FOMO, anything, right, is in the space. And once, you know, this thing gets above 20, 30, 40%, and, you know, we see these charts hitting major resistance levels, maybe, you know, maybe I'm too early with Solana. Maybe I'm too early with Solana, thinking that 221 is the level, right? Maybe it will be 250. Okay, the next Fibonacci retracement, because, you know, we might pump through it to get these retail people back into space, right? Back into the market. And once they're back, Solana pumps to 250. Everybody thinks, okay, we now go $300 plus easily, guys, you know. Next level, maybe 400, maybe $600, okay? Solana what will do. But, you know, at 250, it gets rejected, and boom, it drops. And we then see a good drop, maybe to 170, 140. You know, it might drop a lot then. And maybe I'm too early right now, because this thing might play out a little bit longer than I expect. Maybe it takes, you know, 2-3 more weeks, maybe. Or maybe it will play out never, but I feel like the chance that this plays out are very high, because we didn't see any drop yet on this way up, but the RSI is getting weaker and weaker every time, guys. Okay, so, and the volume, of course, as well, right? Since end of August, the volume decreased for the last 10 days. Okay, now we see a little bit increase again. Okay, yesterday on Monday, We saw a little bit of an increase in volume, but still low compared to what we saw here on the increase, right? Boom, it increased, the volume increased, it pumped, it pumped, it pumped. Then we see the small dump and it pumps again, but the volume is lower. And as the volume gets lower and lower and lower, but the charts get higher, you know, we will short this thing and we will make a bunch of money on that one. Okay, so guys, that's my take on the market so far. Bitcoin is at 113k. Damn, this is messy. Bitcoin at $113,000 right now. Okay, could also pump to 118. I still like these levels, 118, 120, right? Ethereum to 4.6, because, you know, it could perfectly, yeah, the 4.6, 4.8 level, okay. So everybody gets bullish again, but then it finally dumps because there's a lot of liquidity also on these areas. There's a lot of liquidity on these areas. Let me check that, guys. Let me check that for you. Okay, let's get to ETH. Gate. Okay, you know, we can see it here on 4,020. And guys, you really think market maker would not want to take this liquidity here? There's not much up there, right? There's at 4,400-ish level, some liquidity, but there's a lot below 4,250, right? Dollars. So let me get that on the 2-week time frame. Okay. So there's much more. There's more here up, but the thing is, I don't know. You know, if this is a bottom, okay, if this really is a bottom, there's a really low chance that Ethereum will pump now to 4,800 or maybe to 5,000 plus, right? It might pump to 4.6 to get these people liquid, and after it moves downwards, okay? But to finally pump now and seeing the altcoin season is very low chance, you know, because there is too many people betting on the long side. You see this massive liquidity, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars sitting below $4,300 level until 4,100, you know, also here, still hundreds of millions. Until $4,100 level on Ethereum, right? There's too much liquidity sitting around there. Let's go to the 3-month chart. You can see that, guys, on the 3K level, there's hundreds of millions, 2.5K, you know, that would be huge levels. And I would love to see that, because I know we will nail these trades here and we'll make a lot of money on the downside, where a lot of people will bite their asses and lose a lot and lose hope and get out of the space and say, okay, look, we dumped again, I cannot take it anymore. Because this year we haven't seen huge waves up, right? We have seen Ethereum pumping good. We have seen Solana pumping decent, but not that good this year, right? Since the beginning of this year, we saw, okay, Ethereum, right? Back to the days where we nailed this trade here at 3,600 with 100x leverage, actually, until 4.4. I closed my position, which is good. We made it 2,000% on that. You know, it was huge. So, you know, making money on the long side is really nice, but making money on the downside is actually better, because everybody's losing money, but we are making money, okay? And we're getting the money. That would be awesome, right? And guys, this level here, imagine, guys, just imagine. We get this liquidity, all these longs here. Ooh, there's $500 million sitting at 2,930 level. $500 million, right? Exactly at this level, and it's it's perfect. I love it. I really love until 2,800. That's an amazing level. So let me get this. Okay, let me just put that one here. It's not like that. Okay, and let me get the notification at 3,100 to be prepared. Okay, let me write something also. Looking for long. At 2,900. 2,900. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So now we're prepared, right? Once it drops here, we will turn bullish again, because that's actually, guys, Ethereum is moving perfectly. Okay, it's moving really perfectly, you know, based on the Elliott waves. Okay, I don't know if many people know about that, but I learned it in the last weeks, right? Exactly, you know, I learned about it and I used it and I nailed this one here. Okay, that was actually, you know, you can call it luck for sure. You can call it luck, because I, you know, guys, I saw this pumping and it dumped, and then, you know, I realized, well, that's actually right here a good time. Okay, that's a small correction of the third wave, but there's a second leg, right? And boom, it pumped. Okay, perfect. And so now that's your first wave, second, okay, small correction, then boom, the third wave with a small correction in between, still here, boom, the pump, and now it's very likely to be the fourth wave already, right? And the fourth wave is possible to get back to the first wave, okay, to the top of the first wave. The bottom of the fourth is able to get to the top of the first wave, okay, but not below that, okay. So we, you know, once this hits, you know, let's say $2,700, it's invalid, you know. And my assumption that this was the first, second, third, and fourth then is wrong. So we might already be in the ABC correction or an impulsive correction or something else than the fourth wave, right? But right now it plays out perfectly. Boom, first, second, and actually always, guys, this is the leg where you want to load up. The first wave up, you wait, boom, pullback. Okay, that might be the 0.5. Yeah, exactly. Okay, you can see it perfectly, but guys, 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level, and that's where you want to load up. You load up here, you load up here, load up here, and it might, you know, drop more. You can load up here, okay, all the way from 2.1 to 1.5. You could load up, boom, 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 right? And then it pumps hugely, guys, you know. You can just load it up with a 2x leverage, 3x leverage, with a little bit more size, okay? You load up here, let's say you start here with a 30% position and then order 30%, 30%, and the rest 10%, okay? And stop loss here, okay? So let's say you would have an average of 1.8, right? You buy here, 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 yeah, somewhere around 1.8, I guess, would be the average, maybe a little bit higher, 1.85. So you then have 25%. You could lose 50%. Okay, you could lose 50%. First of all, the chance is very low, right? That because we saw already the huge dump on April, right? On a 2x leverage, you could lose 50%. But on the upside, look how much you would do, right? 185, if, you know, considering if it comes to this level. It didn't actually, but if, you know. On the upside, you would have made, you know, 320%, right? So that's 50% against 300%. I mean, guys, just quick snap on that, okay? And so now my thesis exactly is, this is the third wave, okay? It's already finished, but once we break this high, that means that this is still the third wave. This is still the third wave up, okay? Once we break this high, okay? And we then might dump, right? We then might dump. But I still consider the thesis that we need to see it, right? Before the altcoin season, I really want to see the $3,000 level. You know, at least the $3,600 level. This is at least the level I want to see before we finally go to the altcoin season. I really don't think that we will see an altcoin season right now, right? It's just a pump, a quick bump, right? A small rotation of the money, maybe. The whales may pump it, but this is definitely not the altcoin season, in my opinion. Okay, we still need a more, you know, a bigger drop, because right now Ethereum dumped only 15%, guys. You know, let's see, how much did this drop here? The second wave. You know, the second wave dropped 26%. 15% is, well, there's not a big chance that this is the fourth wave right now. You know, this could drop to, yeah, again, right? 3,900 would be 21%. 3,600 would be 26%. That's a good amount. Then it should drop, right? And the 2,900 level would be minus 40%. It's, you know, guys, I know it sounds weird, you know, in a state where you think, look, I'm more positioned into meme coins, I'm more in position into smaller caps, and they didn't pump very well yet. Okay, and how can you consider it now dumping within the next 2-3 weeks or 4 weeks, right? Within the next month, so much, right? I cannot see that. Nobody's here, and that's correct. But once the attention comes back on this way up to 4,800, maybe 4,600, as I said, you know, the attention is back, the FOMO starts to rise, okay, we might see then the major dump, right? It might happen, you know, guys. I'm bullish long term, of course. And the end of the year, beginning next year, I'm bullish for that moment, guys. We might pump, but I want to, you know, make sure that I don't miss out on the huge move down if it happens, okay? So that's my take on the market right now, guys. Don't FOMO into much, okay? Don't FOMO into much. Stay calm, and also don't short too much, because this might take longer than expected. I might be a little bit too early, right? But we'll see. So take care, guys. Stay healthy, and I hear you on the next one.